Yeah, so hey guys, so my name is Herrling. I manage the East Coast Brand Partnerships team for Zynga. We are leaders in interactive entertainment, #1 mobile gaming platform in the US. Oh, you'll have to watch that one. Room service there. All right, so we're going to kick things off with some fun facts. Lindsay, actually, before we do that, why don't you give a little background into your role at Coca-Cola, and then we're going to jump right in.
Yeah, of course. So I am the integrated marketing director for Coca-Cola. I'm based here in Boston, so a lot of you kind of assume that I'm based in Atlanta. There we go.
There we go.
And my role is primarily managing our relationships with a lot of the pro sports teams, some of the colleges and universities, any sort of localized marketing efforts in the territory that I cover. And for those of you that don't know, Coke is kind of a franchise system. So the company based in Atlanta manages the larger marketing strategies from a national and a global perspective. We work on innovation, and then we have locally owned bottlers that execute our plans, distribute our products, and then manage the distribution locally. So kind of why my territory is the way that it is, so that I can specifically support those local bottlers and the teams that I work with in the territory, so I understand the consumer in that specific market.
It's a big job. All right, so fun facts, guys. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Coca-Cola is actually the largest, or longest, I have the worst handwriting. It's the longest reigning brand partnership of the Boston Red Sox. You guys know Coke Corner in right field? So they were, I'm going to try to get this right, in the parking lot, day one, 1912 opening day. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good, right?
I can only take credit for the last 4 years.
That's right. All right, so we're going to do a couple icebreaker questions. So I was super excited about this topic when it came up. I was born here in Boston. I'm a huge Boston sports fan. Grew up in New Jersey, so that is tough. But we're going to kick off with Lindsay. So where does your sports fandom lie?
Yeah, so I am not a Bostonian. I have been here for a few years now, so I do have some brand loyalty to the teams here, but I think my true fandom lies in college sports, and I have to stay true to Florida State. Go Seminoles.
Any Florida State folks in the house? Right. It's going really well. We're killing it up there, I'm telling you. I don't think anybody ever booed out of numbers. How do you enjoy your fan experience? So, stadium, because we're going to talk a lot about that during this dynamic fan journey. Do you like going to the stadium, to the arenas? Are you a couch person, parties? I'll answer after you, but you go first.
Yeah, big in person. I like to be at the game, see the energy, the excitement. Although I will say, like, when it's like this outside, I'd rather be on my couch watching it in the comfort of my own home. So.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, definitely going to the games, etc., were great. I'm a little lazier now, so the big screen in the basement works just fine. But again, huge Boston sports fan, and I love it. All right, so we're going to get into what is the dynamic fan journey. I'm going to do this clicker. Oh boy. Hold it up.
You project the way that people in the back.
I have no problem projecting, I promise that. But yeah.
Keep reminding me.
Yes, I will. I'll just raise up. All right, can you guys see that? I know it's a little tough. So when we were talking over the last week or so, we talked a lot about how Coke is driving brand affinity, equity, loyalty at the local, regional, and national level. And so Lindsay thought, speaking to really what she does on a day-to-day basis, really captured in the slides. So I'm going to let you walk through it, kind of explain all the different touch points, and then we'll get into the weeds on some other stuff.
Yeah, so first of all, in this context, I think fan and consumer go hand in hand. So I may interchange those two words, but it's all the same in this context. So we look at the full fan journey and build a strategic approach to maximize the critical touch points along the path where we think we can influence. And really, when I'm thinking about it, there's three main categories for opportunities for a brand like Coca-Cola to engage consumers. The first is kind of the opportunity to influence decision making. So where is a fan going to watch the game? What are they going to eat or drink during a game? Second would be directly at that point of purchase. So maybe at a concession stand at a game, they see our marketing efforts and it encourages them to add a beverage to their order. Or maybe they're at a grocery store and they see a Red Sox mark on a multi-pack and they add it to their cart because they're fans. And then the third opportunity is really delivering that relevant and timely content and engaging in it in an authentic way. So making sure that we're not just slapping a logo on things, we're thinking about the content that we're a part of, we're making sure it connects with the consumer and with their local passion for the team, because that's why we're partners with the team. Of course, we have a whole team in Atlanta that kind of develops the overarching strategy for how we show up in different leagues, and then it's my job to kind of localize it. We also have a lot of insights and fan data to understand who that consumer and that fan actually is, because we know that all leagues, all teams have a different consumer target audience, and we want to make sure that we're speaking to them in a relevant way. But really the goal, no matter what, is to make sure that we're enhancing the fan journey, we're providing value to the fan and the consumer along each of the different touch points along this path.
I just sold my buzzer. By the way, I think the weather's lightening up. We should be okay. I've never seen it hurt. So close. Kind of piggybacking off that, right? We're talking about the fan journey. So talk to us a little bit about the key attributes that you think inspire a fan to connect with Coke, right? We have a lot of touch points, but what are those things? And kind of going back to that, being at the right place at the right time, can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we actually take it a little bit further. We say having the right brands and the right tools at the right place at the right time, because we have a portfolio of 200 plus brands. And all of those brands have a different consumer target audience, and there's different ways that we can connect those brands at points along this path. And from a sports marketing perspective, we want to show up authentically and create that memorable moment for the fan. So, for example, if a young Boston fan is going to his first Red Sox game with his grandfather and he's sitting in Coke Corner, he's enjoying a Fenway Frank with a Coca-Cola, that's really creating a core memory that our brand is attached to.
That really is what drives that loyalty, that affinity, that engagement, right? Or those moments that we talked about, right? Talk to us a little bit about the key differences, though, between retail-specific locations and on-site, because as you just mentioned, Fenway, that's one kind of experience. What are the other experiences, whether it's a Walmart, Target, or a local shopping center, or ShopRite, or I don't know what they are up here, but 7-Eleven?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we consider it a different occasion. It's a different channel, so we need different tools and different ways of talking to the fan in that occasion or space. From a grocery store or large store perspective, it's not immediate, right? They're probably getting our multi-packs or 24-packs or 12-packs to enjoy later with maybe family and friends while they're watching the game. So maybe we engage the fan there with some on-pack programming. Maybe there's a call to action on POS that delivers some sort of value or content to the fan later on in their day or week when they are watching and enjoying a game. But if a fan's at a bar or a restaurant, they're probably drinking our fountain beverages, and it's probably mixed with something alcoholic, so we have to consider that too. We also we have a couple different ways, a couple of different unique opportunities with partners in the market. So maybe it's a team-themed cocktail that incorporates our brands. Maybe we are, like you see our logo on the TV on the dasher board or in the outfield, and that encourages you to buy a beverage when you're watching the game. Or maybe it's when your team wins, you get a free Coke Zero Sugar, something along those lines, building those programs out with our customers to help drive sales when the game is on. But really the goal is to make sure that our product is in some way incorporated into your game day ritual and making sure that it's enhancing that ritual as well.
Yeah, that's great. And that really goes back to the point about rewarding those folks, those consumers, with something of value, right? And how brands are doing that nowadays across the board. So taking a cue from you, when we talked a little bit about your local efforts, how are you guys sort of, I don't say benefiting, but sort of that trickle-down effect from Coca-Cola's larger global branding? Does that sort of play into what you guys do on a local level?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are obviously a very big company, and there's a lot of people that go into building the brand strategy that I end up executing locally. And we build these campaigns kind of from a national lens, but making sure we're taking into account the different ways that we could overlay some local ties to it. So because of how timely it is right now, I figured I'd talk a little bit about NCAA and our relationship with March Madness. Everything you see in the market across the entire country is leading with the same brand message, the same campaign, and the same brand. So we're leading with Coke Zero Sugar, and then we launched an innovation with our campaign for March Madness with Spiced. And then that campaign and that strategy is built by our brand team in Atlanta. But then there's a whole team of people, including me and my counterparts, that figure out how that campaign translates to retail tools, to media opportunities, experiential marketing plays in individual markets and host city markets and stuff like that. And the support from the national team really helps make the message stronger in the local markets. And then take it down a little bit further, our relationship with our major colleges and universities in all of the different areas that we support allow us to tap into the local passion of the consumer kind of under that larger national marketing umbrella. And the ability to tap into those local markets is what really, I think, makes the magic with the fan and makes that connection and sets us apart from our competition a little bit because we exclusively have the rights to partner with these schools. But at the end of the day, no matter where you are in the country or what team you're cheering for, that Coca-Cola March Madness partnership is pretty unmissable in the marketplace. So on TV, in retail locations, at the game, everywhere.
I forgot to mention it, but you were supposed to go to Cleveland
I don't know
for
about that anymore.
the NCAA Final Four, where UConn for women and men are obviously in it. We got to clap for that. Want to do that one? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we get that, but we'll get to that. So I think you kind of answered this one. So my next question was about your local effort to intersect and align and complement each other. You want to touch on that? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously the whole program is built with the local overlay in mind. So you think about a generic basketball campaign, a generic NCAA campaign is not going to resonate as strongly in the Connecticut market as a UConn-specific campaign will. So that's kind of where we bring in our local ties and where I make sure that we're localizing the message correctly and authentically to that consumer. I also think I recently read a quote from the Disney CEO, and he said that when he does local efforts with Disney, so when they're like trying to build a Disney park in Tokyo, he wants to be authentically Tokyo but distinctively Disney. So we want to be authentically UConn but distinctively Coca-Cola. So we keep that in mind as we're building our tools and building the messaging in the local market and taking advantage of whatever is special to that fan or whatever way we can make sure to make an impact in their fan journey.
This is a question. You want to talk about it?
Yes.
Not maybe your most successful campaign, but you were going to talk about ones you're working on now.
Yeah, so I don't really, he's going to ask me what my proudest moment at Coke was, but I don't really have one. I work on a lot of sports, I work on a lot of different campaigns, but I think being able to provide those unique experiences to fans, being able to see those memorable moments happening in real time, and like I said, I'm part of what we call frontline marketing, so I get to see it really firsthand. I'm there at the games. I am interacting with fans and consumers on a daily basis, so I don't honestly care about the team on the field or the ice or whatever. I'm more interested in the fans and the consumers and how they're interacting with our brand. So that for me is the most exciting part.
Yeah.
I told Derek a little bit, I get to work on so many different kinds of marketing in my role. It's kind of, I've called it forever like a crash course in Coca-Cola marketing.
Yeah, you should speak to this. This is great.
Yeah, I get to do a lot of strategy development. I do a lot of global execution, retail marketing, experiential marketing, Not a lot of media buying, but I do work with the team to make sure that the message that we are putting out there for media is relevant. But it's also different every day, right? So I get to, and every year as well. So the seasons all start again the same time, same month every year, but I'm also getting to work on the Olympics this year. And then in 2026, maybe I'll get to work on FIFA World Cup when they're in Foxborough. So the job is pretty cool. I get to do a lot of things. It stays interesting. Obviously, Coke global and national campaigns are continually exciting. So it's fun to work on those and figure out how to make them relevant to the local market.
The last topic I think we're going to talk about is sustainability and what Coca-Cola is doing. I thought this was great when you described it, this full closed loop venue project. It's not really a project, but it's
yeah,
it is a project. Okay. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, because I think it'd be super interesting.
Yeah. So I kind of thought about this because we're talking about the fan journey so much, but we also think about our packaging journey. And obviously, I am a marketer. I'm not a sustainability expert, but just because of the nature of my role and the properties that I support, there's so much material flowing through these venues and these college campuses. So obviously, plastic is a big hot topic now, sustainability and recycling. And we have realized that as a company, we need to be a part of helping solve that for the U.S. and globally as well. But what we've done specifically in the U.S. with our sports venues and our colleges is we're certifying them all as closed loop venues. So that means that when your bottle or can is recycled properly, which is kind of the key point, but properly in a venue, we are then brokering deals with the haulers to buy back the material so that your bottle or can be a bottle or can next season at the venue. And this is work that we just started last year, but we're working on first figuring out the infrastructure in place, and then educating the fans would be step 2 to make sure that we have both the problem solved, the infrastructure, and the consumer education part of it. And then we will tell the story. We want to get it right first, obviously, and I think on a national level it'll be really impactful when we have a lot of venues that we're working on this project with. But for example, with Women's Final Four in Cleveland right now, we've certified Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse as a closed-loop venue, and this weekend alone, with all of the events and fans that are coming to town, we anticipate roughly 80,000 pounds of beverage bottles and cans being brought back into the Coca-Cola supply chain, and that allows us to make bottles out of our PET as opposed to virgin plastic. So we believe that our bottles are not single-use. They have a life beyond the beverage that you're drinking that day, and hopefully this work makes a difference. It sounds a little cliche, but our company mission is to refresh the world and make a difference, and honestly this work kind of embodies that perfectly.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, that was the end of our session. Thank you so much. We're going to do questions in a second. I just wanted to thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. So we have some time for questions. Yes.
Hi, Lexi with Sonesta Hotels. I was just wondering regarding the sustainability piece and the proper recycling. I know you guys said that's newer, but can you speak to how percentage-wise, what are you seeing do you think is properly recycled at this point in your journey with that?
Yeah, it really depends on the venue. It depends on the hauler that they have, what kind of materials they accept, how they accept it, if it's in a bag, if it's like a single stream, all that. So it's very complicated because every venue is so different. So that's why the work is very specific to each venue. We bring in a consultant, they do a full waste audit, they walk the venue, they visit with the hauler, they build a plan specifically for that venue so that then we are actually, it's not a copy paste across every venue. Unfortunately, if it was, I think we'd already have solved it. And college campuses are even harder because they have different dining services running their waste. So they have athletic facilities groups, they have different bins and different types of material being sold across campus. So it's very complicated. I don't have an answer for you, but we're doing our best to figure it out at each venue specifically, and then trying to educate the consumer at the same time. So if you go to Fenway this year, you'll see some updated campaign signage on the concourse. If you go to TD Garden, you'll see some of that too. So once we understand the landscape of the infrastructure at a venue, we start to message it to the consumer so that the messaging is helping us reduce the contamination rates of the materials that they're throwing away or recycling, and that we're actually able to buy back the material. It's clean and it's food grade.
Yeah.
Mike Golden with Odyssey. Sticking with the sustainability, I think
I knew this was going to be popular.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot
I
of
know.
I've seen a lot of co-branding over the last few years with some of your rivals, the Pepsis and the Dr. Peppers, and it seems really cool that you guys have come together to really, really elevate that message. Is that something you guys feel like you're going to continue to do?
The question was, will we work with our competitors in this space and continue to message it as a total beverage company, I guess? I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that question. Me specifically, the work I do, I'm not working with my competitors because the venues that I work with and the properties that I work on are exclusively selling our products. I think we have kind of accepted the fact that the sustainability and recycling issues are kind of larger than us. We're a beverage company, right? We're not trying to solve the world's recycling problems, but we are doing the best we can to make sure that the impact that we make in the world is taken care of, or at least we have a plan in place to try and help figure it out. And I'm sure at a higher level, we are working with Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and all the other brands and companies that are distributing large amounts of plastic and aluminum.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about how you measure the success of a partnership like the Red Sox or FIFA?
Yeah, so we had this question, and I was like, could we take it off?
The question was, how do we measure success for these programs? And it wasn't in my list.
Yes,
It got cut.
It's just because it's so hard, right? I mean, sports marketing is very, very complicated to measure. There's so many different factors. And for Coca-Cola specifically, we're measuring sales, honestly. We're measuring sales at retail by leveraging our IP rights. So I look at how many additional display spaces I get in grocery stores, or what increase in volume sales happen at certain FSOP accounts and stuff like that. We also look at sales in the venue, but from an awareness standpoint, like for Coca-Cola, like I don't really need to be building awareness. Maybe with some of our innovation and launching new brands, we look at that specifically. There is a digital team I work with that builds a lot of our programs. So when you're seeing a program on pack and there's a QR code, there's a whole other team measuring the engagement and the success of that program. And then working with the team specifically, like they give us TV measurements, and like there's social and digital programs that we're attached to. They'll give us analysis on, but for the most part, Coke measures sales, and we leverage the IP rights in that way, and that's kind of our goal with these partnerships. So I know a lot of brands have different goals when they enter deals with teams. So that's why I think it's such a hard question for me to answer too, because we're not really actively trying to measure it in the ways that maybe some other brands are.
Yeah.
Bring it home. Just going back to the media piece, I know your job is really to localize messaging across the board, and you mentioned you don't really do too much on the media side, but you also mentioned that you'll sometimes work with the media to make sure the messaging that they're putting out is relevant to the local side. If you can talk a little bit about that, how do you integrate with the teams to make sure the media messaging is relevant locally?
Yeah, so the question is, how do I work with the larger media team to make sure that the out of home or the media that we're doing is relevant to the market that I cover? And for example, if you're watching any of the March Madness games, there is a Coke Zero Sugar commercial that features UConn. So I helped with making sure that the way that UConn showed up in that commercial was relevant and authentic to who the UConn fan is. I'll also look at kind of stuff a little bit like not as creative focused, but making sure like where in the market we're showing up, like what's big in Cleveland to make sure that we're making the biggest impact when we show up there for a host city game. So I'm not as involved as maybe a lot of other people, just because we do work with local agencies on media buying to make sure it's localized too. But from a standpoint of connecting with the local sports fan or the local consumer specifically, I do provide feedback on what we see. We get to see the commercials before they go live. We get to provide input, that type of stuff. So,
All right. Thank you so much.
thank you.